Thank you very much. You are watching a Business AM. Welcome back to the first part of our conversation this morning. Now, let me introduce that part as well. Before I introduce the guests who are joining us this morning to carry us through the next few minutes of our conversation, are all entrepreneurs set out to solve a problem. I mean, that's the purpose. Now they create jobs, drive innovation, and empower their employees to develop their skills and abilities. Today, we discuss how entrepreneurs can be empowered to drive a social change in the world. We're starting right from home. We're joined by Marina Mura, Partnership Associate, Somo Africa, and Amelia Phillips, co-founder, Somo Africa. Let me start with you, Amelia. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Can we know a little bit about who Somo Africa is?
Yeah, of course. So we're an accelerator that focuses on entrepreneurs coming from low-income backgrounds. So we work across Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, and we support entrepreneurs with the tools that aren't usually accessible in low-income areas. So we provide financing, we provide training, we help them access markets outside their local communities, and provide hands-on business coaching during that entire time to help them launch and grow successful businesses.
It's a good thing. Before I introduce Maureen this morning, Amelia, I like how you're saying that you're giving them tools that won't be necessarily available to low-income areas. In your opinion, what are these tools and why are they very important?
Yeah, so I mean, the tools are the resources such as financing, training, mentorship, access to markets that we see accessible in parts of a city like Nairobi, but often low-income communities are cut off from those types of resources.
Yes.
And this can be because of lack of knowledge that something exists. It can be because most financing that comes into a country like Kenya is really focused on a very small percentage of businesses, mostly in the tech industry. But it can also be something as simple as someone doesn't have bus fare to get to a location where a training or accelerator program is happening.
Pretty much. Amelia, I'm going to come back to you. Let me just bring in Marina Mura at this point. Good morning, Marina. How are you doing?
Good morning to you too. I'm doing just fine.
All right, now let's talk about exactly what Amelia is talking about. As the partnership associate, Somo Africa, what do you think really our enterprises in low-income areas need in terms of empowerment?
So from my own perspective, I think what these entrepreneurs in low-income areas actually need is, first of all, a platform for them to be able to grow and nurture their skills in terms of being entrepreneurs and starting small businesses. Because the businesses that we usually work with, they are very grassroots businesses. They need support and help for them to be able to upscale, grow, support their own communities, and also up to their own immediate families. So if you provide them with a platform, we provide them with the necessary resources, materials, and also usher them into the new digital era, they will be in a position to upscale, grow, and improve their economic status.
Pretty much. Now, Maureen, when we're talking about enterprises from low-income areas, are you targeting specific demographics, and where are you starting from? Are you starting on the grassroots level, or are you in the city? Where can we find Somo Africa?
So Somo, we currently have 3 hubs. We have 2 hubs in Nairobi.
Yes.
So one hub is in Kibera, another one is in Kayole. We are also in Kisumu, and we recently expanded to Mombasa.
Yes.
So in general, we work with 30 communities, which are low-income urban communities.
Yes.
And pretty much that's it. Yes.
Maureen, just before I cross over to Amelia this morning, what is your definition of a low-income community? What are these things that you're looking for that stand out?
So what we pretty much look at is we work with the young youth people. These are either people who did not have opportunity to advance in their education or be guided to grow in a particular skill. So we look at people who want to either employ other people, because most of our businesses are around educational related,
yes,
provide employment as well as health. So we look at, we cut across those three areas, and we also ensure that they have the passion in them to want to support themselves and in turn support the communities that they grow, or rather that they work with.
All right,
Yes.
Amelia, let me cross over to you this morning so that we try and talk about that impact that Maureen is mentioning this morning as well. So when you started Somo Africa, was your aim to bring up businesses, or was it to improve the livelihoods of the people in the low-income economies? And what has been that impact so far that you can report to us?
Yeah, so overall, definitely improving livelihoods is a big part of what we do. We
Yes.
believe that one way to do that is through supporting locally built business ideas. And so, as Maureen has said, all the businesses we work with actually come out of the communities that we work in. Our core belief is people know their communities and know how to solve their own problems. And way too often we look to outside to solve the problems of the poor instead of actually investing in people who come from backgrounds of poverty to create their own solutions. So to date, we have trained over 400 people. We've launched and invested in 115 businesses, and those businesses have created over 1,300 jobs.
Which you would say is remarkable. I mean, if you look at the numbers you're talking about this morning, then that's quite huge. So can I ask, what sort of training do they get? And do you move with them through the journey? Are you targeting the people already running smaller businesses, or you're essentially moving people in and telling them you can set a sort of a business that you have in your framework?
Yeah, so both. We have two different training programs. Our first training program is focused on business ideas that have some type of social impact.
Yes.
So that social impact can be touching a health, educational, or environmental need in their communities. It can also be that they're providing employment to a demographic that usually has low rates of employment opportunities.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of our focus on job creation comes in. So with those businesses, they could be at idea stage, or they could have started small scale. When they come into our program, everyone goes through 3 months of training first. That training starts with ideation. They go through modules on how to build their business model, on financial literacy, how to brand and market their business, on customer service. And throughout this entire time, they're carrying out market research in the field. And they are also set up with mentors who are entrepreneurs currently in our portfolio, successfully running businesses in the communities where they're from. So they have really, really hands-on support during the entire time. So that's our first training program. Our second one is focused on existing businesses. That would be your basic business model that you find in any small market area. And so with those businesses, we're really focused on financial literacy and customer service, and how do we boost those businesses? It's actually called Boost Biz Now Somo. How do we boost those businesses to boost the livelihoods of the individuals running them and their families?
Yes. Amelia, just before I cross over again to Maureen, I'm going to ask you this question. Capital is one of those bigger challenges, especially for smaller business. And even when we talk about this training and even financial literacy and all that, you have to find that capital is well embedded within that value chain. How are you addressing that as well?
Yeah, so we're big believers that without financing, training does little good. You can't launch a business unless you have the money to be able to actually launch it.
Yes.
And so that is part of what we do. The initial stage of capital we provide entrepreneurs with, we call grant equity. It is a grant that they will receive, but then that will convert into an equity stake that we have if the business becomes a company after our 2-year acceleration program. So that initial stage of capital, we invest in the goods the business needs to start. So machinery, space, bulk raw materials, things like that they need in order to launch their business successfully. And then later stage capital we provide in the form of debt through partners. And so at a very low interest rate compared to what the market is offering right now.
Maureen, this is your question therefore as well, even as we try to understand what your social impact is, especially when we're talking about enterprises in low-income areas as well. Are you fighting culture? Is culture a big component in your training? Because at the end of the day, you'll find that culture is one of those areas that you have to address first before you even say, we want to help you? What are you changing mind-wise in these entrepreneurs?
So when it comes to culture, I'd like to look at it in terms of the types of mindsets of the different people that we work with.
Yes.
And one thing that amazes me with the communities we work with is how quick they are to take up new opportunities and skills that enable growth and change. So what does that mean for us? So some of the modules that we cover at the start of the training program, they are meant to help them have that kind of vision, have that kind of mindset, have that kind of attitude that once you get into this space, social entrepreneurship is about working together as a whole to create change, economic growth, and support each other. So some of the modules we cover, they usually start off from like the golden circle, storytelling, so that they can get out what it is they'd like to share and transform it into business ideas and stories. And that's the kind of platform that we provide. And those are usually the first initial modules they cover in training before they go into business skills, financial literacy, and just work on the different businesses that they will be working on throughout the training program.
All right, Maureen, we're going to take a short break here on business. And once we come back, I'll be wanting to know who is ready. How do you know? How long does that process take? And how do you walk with me throughout that journey at Somo Africa? Once we come back here on Business M2146, that's your SMS line at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. Hashtag Business M. We're still with Somo Africa on that social change. Is it possible to impact communities through businesses as well? Once we come back.